Hello guys, welcome back to my class. So in this video I'm going to show you how to solve some the real life applications using arrays in C++ programming. Okay, look at these questions. Okay, we are going to solve the one-dimensional first. Later on I will go for dimensional array. Okay, the first one, write a C++ program to create an array named mark. Okay, and then to store 5 marks for 5 students and initialize it to 0 and perform the following task. Alright. So you have to create 5 array with the size 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is index. Okay, index value by default always start from a 0. Okay, you have to create this array marks. Okay, size 5 to store 5 value, but before that you have to initialize to 0 first, make it all 0. Alright, and then you perform the following task using the for loop to store 5 students marks entered by the user into the mark array. Okay, as I mentioned in the class, okay, you cannot manipulate or read or write the array in one shot. Okay, you have to use for loop to read, to key in, to manipulate element by element. Alright, okay, so using the for loop, so in for loop there are 3 conditions. Initial value, so which is 0, I equal to 0. What is your checking conditions? Your checking condition will be as long as your I is less than the 5. As long as I is less than 5. Okay, or we call it as a size of the array. As long as less than the size of the array, then it will stop. So what is your update conditions? Your update condition will be ++1 because you are going to add 1 for each of this index. Okay, scan through element by element from first element to second element. So you use ++I. Okay, this is question number 1. You have to use this technique to either store a value and also to display. Use the same technique. Okay, this is for A. Meanwhile for B, you have to display the student marks in reverse order. So in order to display in reverse order, you have to think, okay, using different condition in the for loop. Okay, instead start from the first element, you have to start from the last element. Alright, therefore your initial conditions will be start from 4. Alright, and then your checking condition will be as long as I more than 0. This is your last element. As long as I equal to more than 0, and then your update condition will be minus I. So which means that you're going to start from the last element and then display the third element, okay, second, third, and the last element. Okay. So meanwhile, you have last questions here. See, ask the user change any students. So you are given a chance to the user whether they want to change the value, okay, in one of the element here. Okay, do you want to change? If yes, if you want to change, and then you have to enter a new mark. Ask the user key in a new mark and then replace the current one. And then to display again the value in the array using the same technique as question A. Okay, understand what is the requirement first and then come up with your expected output. So for question A, this is my expected output. I have 5 students, ask them to key in the all value, and then you have to display. And then for second question, you have to display in reverse order. Okay, how to display? So as I mentioned just now, you have to change the conditions for your for loop in the for loops. Okay, and the last one, you are giving a chance to the user whether they want to change the student marks or not. If yes, which student? Okay, if one, then you can change. If let's say I change to 60, so it will replace the current value to 60. Meanwhile, the other values will be remain. Okay. Okay, now once you understand the requirement, then you have to go to this flowchart. Alright, for A, start, you have to set your index equal to 0 as long as your index value is less than 5. Then you have to get the user input, see in, maybe the mark. Alright, then continue. Else, terminate. Okay, then you have a second question to display again. Okay, this is to get the user input. Now you have to display. For display, it's actually the same. Start from index 0 as long as I less than 5. Now instead of C in, you display C out. Okay, what is your mark? Alright, repeat. Alright, so this one is to display the element by element. So meanwhile B, you are going to display in reverse order. In order to display reverse order, you just need to change the conditions. Okay, you'll have to initialize your I index number to 5, is it? Yeah. Start from 4. As long as your I more than 1, 0, then you display. Alright, then you repeat. Minus, minus 1. You decrease element by element. Else, and alright. Okay. So C, for C, you are given a chance to ask the user whether they want to change or not. Alright. So do you want to change your value? So get the user input. So if let's say the conditions, the input that key by the user is equal to yes, then you have to change. Okay, you have to change. C out. Sorry, it should be C in. Okay, C in your mark. You have to replace. You have to replace the particular index. Else, do nothing. Okay, maybe before here you can add one more. You can ask what is the value. What is the value? What is the mark that you're going to change? Then only you get the input from the user. Okay, then you have to display again. You have to display again from here. So I equal to 0. So as long as I less than 5, then you display. See out. Display the value. Repeat. Else, and the program. Alright, so once you have a very clear a flowchart here. Then we move on to our coding. Alright, so look at the first questions. Okay, you're going to read. Okay, we read the input. Alright, so we have to create your array first. Okay, in double. Alright, then you have to ask, the user, enter marks for the students. Alright, and then you have to display. Okay, to display it, you have to use same thing. So instead of CE, now you use Cout. Okay, so done. This is for questions A. Now I will move on to question B. In question B, if you follow the flowchart, you are going to display in reverse order. So this is the way you change the condition. Start from the last element, and then update condition -1, and then check as long as it's more than, and it will display. Okay, now move to the C. Move to the C. So you are given a chance to ask the user to key in. Do you want to change any value? If yes, no. So I give a variable here to store the user opinions, whether they want to change or not. So this is a variable, so I have to declare char op. Okay, so if let's say the user key in small letter of y, it will help me to convert to big Y, and then I will use selections control structure. As long as the user key in Y, yes, then which students. So I will key in the number lah. Okay, so this is a variable. Again, I have to declare this variable. Okay, so this mark, okay, number -1, yeah, because the number here that you key in is the elements, but however I have to change the value using the index. Alright, remember the index here is, you have 5 value, start from 1 2 3 4, start from index 0. So if let's say I key in, okay, which student? Student 1. Student 1 is actually referred to the index 0. So I have to use this one -1 here, -1 here. So I can get 0, which is referred to the index 0, referred to the first students. Alright. So done. Then I have to redisplay again the value. Yeah. Okay. So double check your coding. If everything okay, then you try to run it. Alright, enter marks for student 1. So 60, 65, 45, 68, and 92. 90. So student 1 display. So in this one it will reverse. Okay. Do you want to change the student marks? If let's say I key in small y, yes. So which students? 1, the first students. So enter mark for student 1. I have to replace maybe 32. So it will display again. Okay, is it same as my expected output here? The same as my expected output? Yes. exactly what I want. So this is a perfect coding. Okay, now let's move on to two-dimensional array. So at these questions, suppose the weekly hours for all employees are stored in two-dimensional array. So this is a 2D array. We have 3 rows, and then we have 7 columns. In the previous case, we just have either a single row or single columns. Alright, in this case, we have both rows and columns. Therefore, it is a two-dimensional array. So it shows that the record for each of the employee here and their working hours, 7 days. Alright, you have second workers and third workers. Alright, so your job is going to develop this C++ coding to display each of these employees and their total hours of working. Okay, so this is your total. So basically you have to display another column here. Write a program to display the same thing but with additional column here. Okay, so you have to fix the first employees. You have to fix this one first and then start from the column number 1, move on to column number 2, add up and then scan through the column by column, and then finally you get total. Okay, done for employee 1, then you have to move on to employee 2. Again, reset your column to 0, start from 0, again scan through the column by column. Done. What is the total? And then move on to the third employee. Alright, so in this two-dimensional array, we will use nested for loop for our manipulations. Nested for loop. Alright, so in nested for loop, you have to identify which one will be your outer for loop, which one is your inner for loop. If let's say you are going to fix your row number, then your outer for loop will be row. Okay, you are going to fix your row number, then you are going to use row as your outer for loop, and then meanwhile your inner loop will be your column. This is because you are going to start from 0 until the end and then move to this second row, and then you reset your inner for loop to 0 and then scan through again. And then repeat, done, move to the outer loop, go to the last row and then repeat, reset again your column to 0 and then repeat until the end. Alright, so understand the requirements, then you have to come up with your expected output. So this is my expected output. Okay, if let's say you scan row by row, then you have to fix the row value and move the value in column. Means that your column will be in your inner loop and your row value will be your outer loop, and this is my expected output. Okay, so now we move on to second step. Okay, plan your work using the flowchart. Alright, so start, then you have to display the header, this one. You have to display your header. Alright, display your header. Okay, next step, start to initialize I equal to 0. So before that, make sure that you are very clear what is your initial conditions, checking condition and update conditions for your outer loop and inner loop. Okay, the outer loop is represented by the row, so you have 3 rows. So as long as it's less than 3, then update condition plus 1. You have to scan row by row. Meanwhile, column you have 7, so as long as I less than 7. Alright, so we always start from the outer loop first. Okay, we have to start from the outer loop first. Alright, as long as I less than 3, so you have to display this label employee once. So you have to display this employee I plus 1. Alright, so once you display this label, now we move on to our inner loop. So you have to declare j equal to 0, j equal to 0. Alright, and then as long as j less than 7. Alright, so what happens next? As long as less than 7, so you have to calculate, start to calculate. So in order to calculate this total, remember, this is also an array, one-dimensional array in column. So you have to create one. You have to create one array to store the total hours. Alright, so this one will be your total hours. Maybe you assign this. Equal to total hours plus the employee ij. So now we have 0, 0, start with the first one, start with 7. Alright, and then you have to display this value 7, therefore you have to display your employee ij. Alright, done for the first one. So you j plus plus, increase the row, increase the column by 1, move to the next column. Alright. So now as long as j less than 7, yes, so you update the value for total hours and then you display the second value 3. So now you become 1. Now your update become 2, 3 until 7. Okay, I think basically it's until 6 until 6. Sorry, should be until 6. So j plus plus becomes 7, more than that, so you come out from the outer loop. Okay, you come out from the outer loop. Then you display your total hours. You display this, display the total hours. Now we're done for this row number 1. Now we have to move on to row number 2, I plus plus. Move on to I number 2. Okay, as long as I less than 3, yes, correct. Then you have to continue. Now instead of row number 0, now will be 1. Then you repeat again, 1, this one 0 until 6. You repeat again until the last row, row number 2. Then you have 0, column number 6. Finish. Then you come up from the whole looping. Okay, come up with the whole looping. Finally, you end the program. Okay, so that's it. So once you have identified your flowchart, now we move on to our coding. First thing first, you have to declare your array, two-dimensional array. So you have first row, second row, and third row, and then you have 7 columns. Alright, the next one you have to display the header. Alright, so you have to display the header. See out. Alright, and then we go to the outer loop. Okay, this is the outer loop. So since I have a I here, so I have to declare I. Alright, and then I have to move on to the inner loop. Alright, and then I move on to the inner loop to calculate the total, to display the label, to display the total hours. Alright, so since I'm creating this total hours array, so I have to declare here integer total hours size 3 equal to initialize to 0. Alright, also I declare the j here. Then that's it. So I end my program. So double check again. So I declare a two-dimensional array. So I declare a header, follow the flowchart now. So my outer loop, I display the label. Inner loop, calculate the total, display the employees. Alright. Okay, so now I run the program. Oh yes. So, okay, is it matched with my output? Yes. Alright, so means that my coding is perfect. Okay, so that's all for the today video. So I will see you in the next video. Okay, goodbye.